Hello, I'm doing another video regarding some things that are going on. There's been a subtle internet buzz about Mike Ilitch. Mike is 87 years old and he's 88 by the time July gets here. Subtle rumor that he's not doing well. I've gotten to know Mike Ilitch from the time I was 4 or 5 years old, when my father was still alive. Mike used to started Little Caesars in Garden City back at a time when nobody got any junk mail. He used to go down streets and rubber band ads for his Little Caesars on people's door handles. I remember asking my dad about him. I didn't know it was him till many years later, why he was doing that. And my dad's explanation to the 4 or 5 year old boy was he's trying to make his business better. Mike Ilitch, for anybody who really wants to know the history of his life, and I'm not a, I couldn't give you a blow by blow account of it, but uh, he turned Little Caesars into a very successful carry-out pizza franchise. A few years after my dad had passed, he had arranged for Norm Cash to come to the location of Ford Road and do autograph sessions. This is, 40, 50 years before you go to autograph signings, you're spending well over $100 for a superstar guy's autograph. Norm didn't charge. I think his reward was getting pizza. He probably got a couple of pies out of it. Norm was Texan. He had a friendly personality, very good with kids. He was my favorite player on Tigers back then, and he made me laugh. His family will never know how awesome he made me feel. And having a dad and be able to sit in Norm's lap and him having fun with me, it was almost like being there with my dad because he was such a pleasant fellow. For years, I was trapped within my little cocoon of things that were going on with the loss of my dad and wondering how things would turn out for me as I became an adult. And at about 18, I had a bit of a drinking problem, but it became much worse at about 18, 19 years old. Had a little bit of heartbreak, didn't really have anyone to talk to, and so my companion was a beer or a liquor bottle for 7 or 8 years. When I got tired of that, I decided to get sober. I applied at one of his stores where I was living in Livonia, and I was working midnights at one place and working part time, training as a assistant manager. I was probably working close to 60 hours a week, and that was more than I'd ever done. I didn't care. I really, up until that point, I never really cared about work, but I knew that I had to leave where the job I was working midnights at because they were not taking care of their employees. So I got the opportunity for about 4 years. Once I left the earlier job, I was trained by some of the best people in the food industry with management classes and with coworkers that helped me find a dedication to doing a complete job. And at 27, you can, be dedicated as you can be, but you've got all those years where you're trying to start new habits, plus you're changing the way you're living in finding sobriety. It was quite a challenge. But one of the things I loved was that if I wanted hours, they were always available to me because I had a lot of managers that were in school. And at that time, that's probably what I needed. Looking back, I wish I would have done things differently, but I didn't have the confidence to move forward that way. A couple of years into my time working for Mike, Mr. Ilitch, Mr. Um, things were going so well for me. I was happy with people I was working with. And I was working in 6 or 7 different stores, picking up shifts over the course of a 2-week pay period. And the gratitude that I had, I was in outpatient counseling during that time, and I realized that I had to show that gratitude, and so I uh, created a little plaque that I framed myself and gave it to my boss to give it to Mr. Ilitch. I truly, truly, truly loved working for the company back then. I would have done anything for the Ilitches because of the opportunities that I was afforded. And my boss said, don't be surprised if you get contacted somewhere down the road. And I didn't really give it much thought because I was working, but it just felt good to be able to express my gratitude. And with my sobriety going well, time didn't seem to slip by. I'm not sure how many months from the time I gave him the plaque that I created to the time I walked into work and my coworker Sean Belegian was in the store, and I was showing up for my shift just like moments before I was supposed to start, and he goes, "I got a letter for you," and with a straight face, but knowing Sean's personality, I knew it was BS or joke. Sean said, "You know, I got something for you. You've been fired." I opened it up, and part of it was not knowing what the envelope was. Well, what it was a type letter off of Mr. Ilitch's personal stationery, signed by him, congratulating me on my sobriety. He had so many employees that, trying to keep track of one guy that showed appreciation, it meant the world to me. Well, as I'm reading it, I broke down a little bit, and Sean's standing there, and he's going, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. And I'm going, no, you need to read this letter. And so I gave him the letter to read. It's very short but thoughtful. And Sean, who was about 17, 18 years old at the time, just was blown away that a guy with his kind of background of being a millionaire and having all these stores, and there was a lot of attitude with different employees that, it's just a job, just like working at a McDonald's or anywhere else. But for me, maybe because I was from Garden City and I had an idea of what it was like when it was started, because when I was going to Little Caesars on Ford Road as a kid, it was just so personable. Um, the gal that ran my training class was the hostess at the Ford Road location, and she was such an awesome and invigorating lady to listen to her during the week of management classes. You couldn't help but be excited to work for the company. And, you know, she didn't remember me. I kind of remember her. I have a good thing for faces, and I'm pretty sure that she was in there when my family come in to get pizza. And during that time when I was taking classes also was the late 80s when Jacques Demers was there and the Wings were finally starting to come together. And I was leaving one day from class and I saw Mr. Ilitch walking out to his car and he didn't look very happy. And one of the training guys goes, "Yeah, he's got to go to a press conference. He's doing something he doesn't want to have to do. He didn't want to let the cat out of the bag," which was something I learned over my time at Little Caesars. When you were asked to keep your lips sealed, you did, out of respect for the people that employed you. And I got home, and Mr. I was doing a press conference saying that Jacques had been fired. I had a fondness for Jacques because with his broken English, he had kind of had the right idea, but it came out kind of broken. And there are a few articles by Mitch Albom talking about Jacques that, you knew Jacques was a good guy. So that was very hard. Over the years, I've been on Facebook in the last 10 years or so. I've been on Facebook, and I found out Denise Ilitch was on Facebook, and even though I have not worked for Little Caesars for many years, the lessons I learned as an employee and the opportunity given me to change my life, it was stuck with me. One of the things I wanted to do when I quit drinking was to be able to reach out to young people to help them change their lives if they were headed down that road, or to help them avoid it. I started drinking at a young age, and I know from watching Mr. I walking down my street, putting in the time to get those flyers to build Little Caesars up, I knew that what I was doing, if I stayed at it and stayed persistent, that somewhere along the way I too would have an opportunity to help some people. Yeah, it's strange. Mr. I helped Bob Probert, who was during this fantastic run of the Red Wings being so great. He was my Red Wing, still is. I have great appreciation for any player on the Wings that has a measurable career. Living where I live, I would run into what we'd call the Swedish contingent in Little Sweden, north of Novi. So I have great admiration for them, but Bob was my guy. And that Mr. I helped Bob enough that somewhere along the way, Bob straightened out his life. In an encounter with him early in my sobriety, he took a half an hour out of his time when I ran into him and offered me encouragement and challenged me. These are things that changed me. And because Mr. I cared enough to try at least to help Bob see what he was doing to himself by offering him help and not giving up, I didn't give up because I knew that Bob had been through a lot, and he put other people through a lot, and that was hard for him, I'm sure, as it was hard for the Proberts and everyone else that was associated with Red Wings or in either of their lives, knowing the conflict and the toughness of trying to change things around. It's taken me a long time to get to the point to know I'm ready. I know I can help other people. I didn't have a silver spoon. I didn't have someone there to hold my hand the whole way. I had the ability to recognize good people. And although I ran into people that didn't have my best interests in heart, I never gave up. I persisted. I persevered. I don't know how I'm going to make happen what I want to happen, but I know I'm closer than I've ever been. A lot of people can, say disparaging things about one thing or another with village and family. And, I hear it in everyday life, and, to me, that's your opinion. I know what's been done for me, and no life is perfect. No life is an easy ride. You have to put work into it to make something happen. And now I'm at the point where I want to try and make something good happen. And I have an idea of how to make it happen. And I've connected with people that understand my dreams and desires. I know Mr. ISL. And I know he's getting to an age that we all get to where no matter what we've accomplished, we want more. Well, at a certain point, the body wears out. It's not the mind. The body forces the mind to comply with what the rest of the body is saying. It's our time. I hope it doesn't come anytime soon. My prayers to the Ilitch family to lose a patriarch of a guy who's done so much for other people. With the Love Kitchen and just different ideas and the resurrection of the wings, helping develop downtown back to sanity, which hasn't been there for half a century. We want better things for the city. We're tired of bad things. Thank you, Mr. Ilitch. Thank you. I don't know how much longer I have. I have today. I have my dreams, which I didn't have the ability to put forth 20 years ago. You're partially responsible for that. There's a lot of framework of things you did for other people that helped me. There's a song that touches me deeply hard, and it's a reflection of the people that have helped me. Survivor ever since the world began. One hand touching the other, and we don't know where it begins. We don't know how to understand other than there it is. And it's taken me many years to come alive and figure out a way to get where I wanted to be. And I'm grateful. And I don't openly pursue people except when it eases my mind knowing that I've been able to show I'm thankful. My life isn't perfect. It never has been. But I don't give up. Thank you for giving me a chance to believe in myself again. To believe that I could overcome anything. That's your legacy for a lot of people. Thank you, Mr. Ilitch. Thank you, Ilitch family. I wouldn't have what little I have now, which I'm grateful for, if you hadn't given me the chance